Oh man, look at that cover. Ooh, that's straight fire right there. Straight fire. That is a really cool cover though. I like that a lot. And before you ask, no, it's not Batman the Shadow. I know you guys don't know who the Shadow is, so don't even play like you do. So this is Batman Detective Comics number 966. They're getting close to 1,000. It's $2.99, as Captain Cummins says. And this issue interested me a lot because the last one left us on a cliffhanger. Tim Drake met his future self. And so it's pretty cool. I got to say, like, look how good it is. Look how good that is. Actually, that's just a Snickers commercial. But anyway, so here we are, Gotham City, many tomorrows from now. How about that? And they keep showing Anarchy. They keep tying him into these comic books here lately, and I'm kind of tired of seeing him, but I understand what he has to do with the story of Gotham Resistance and all that kind of stuff, but I'm just tired of seeing him. He's not that interesting. I mean, he is interesting, but he's not to me. Sorry. But anyway, so basically, he's on the rooftop here. It's raining. We see Batman's figure there, and he says, "I want you to understand something, Anarchy. At the end, I didn't want this. I didn't want any of this. I'll stop you. I didn't choose this path. It was chosen for me." So you're like, why would Batman say that? He says, and he smacks him, and then the guy tries to use his staff, and he says, "Don't be ridiculous. The tech in your staff died the second I got within 100 feet. Don't forget whose notes you used to crib off of." Oh. So then they're fighting, and he says, "I don't speak fascist. If you're going to do it, do it." And I was like, oh gosh. So then he spits in his face. You know, Batman was waiting on that. And he just goes, And then he goes, blam, 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 blam. Or as Dark Philly would say, pop, 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 pop. But what's so funny is it's like Batman just capped a fool. I mean, he's captain. What's going on here? And then as he's standing over his body with some notes, someone yells, "Batman, put your hands up." And then it says, "Commissioner Montoya." And so this is many years in the future. It says, "By the 2035 Charter Agreement, this is designed as free Gotham. Bats aren't allowed in here." And he says, "For now." And he just kind of flies off. Pretty cool little shot there. Then we get our story here. A Lonely Place of Living, Chapter 2. It's a pretty cool story. So James Tynion IV is the writer. He's a jerk. Eddie Burrows is pencils. Eber Ferreira is inks. Adriana Lucas is the colors. And Sal Cepinino, whatever his name is the letters. And Raphael Albuquerque did the variant cover, the one that I got. I specifically wanted this cover. Is that not sweet? Woo! I like some neon purples and reds. So look at this shot of the Batcave here. They've been overdoing the shots of the Batcave here lately, but I like it because every one of them's different. Like this one's got the the Batman statue there. We got the Batmobiles, but it's in the future, so he's got a lot more tech. And if you'll notice, they've done a very 80s style with the Batmobiles because they just added a bunch of things that don't belong on there to kind of make it look futuristic. And I like that. It brings back a lot of memories. So then he's talking to Brother Eye, which is running his computer, because everybody in the future, it's Batman, has Brother Eye running things. And he gets a message from Superman, and I can only imagine that's probably Superboy all grown up. And he says the Titans need their Batman, and it's more than that. I know you're better than maybe anyone. You need to come back, please. And he says delete message. Message deleted. It says run the Money Spider decoding software. Access most recent recording play video. So he's watching a video of Anarchy and I think her name's Kate talking. Or no, Stephanie. He says, if I hadn't set it all in motion, he would never have become what he became after Clayface. He says, stop Tim did this to himself. He tried to hold the entire world together by himself, and when he couldn't, it broke him. So they made a little message there about Clayface, and it makes you wonder what happened to him. And then it says, whatever that lonely creature is, it sure heck isn't Tim Drake, not anymore. And then something pops up and happens to him, and he gets zapped and teleported. And then we're now the prison of Mr. Oz. I keep calling him Dr. Oz, but it's Mr. Oz. Tim Drake was left there. Oz left and pretty much just left him there in an empty prison. And now Doomsday has gotten loose, and he and Batman are fighting him. So there they are. You get little cutscenes here. He's loading up his gun with new ammo. Starts firing Kryptonian bullets at him. Causing, I thought he actually like blew his body up, and there was nothing left by the way they drew it. I thought it was like just his arms. And he says, synthetic kryptonite. It can break its skin, but it will heal in moments. If you want to live, you need to come with me. Come with me if you want to live. And so there they are running, and basically they're talking, and he says, I'm you from the future. And I was like, oh crap, it's Tim Drake from the future, and he's Batman. He says, I knew I would never be as good as Dick or the rest of the Robins. So I came up with technology-based strategy over fighting, because he's just never going to be that good at fighting compared to the other ones. And so he says, wait just a darn minute. This is a lot to process. He says, oh, you've already processed it. You just don't like what you processed. He says, what? He says, I know what you're thinking right now. I'll never be Batman. I never wanted to be Batman. You don't know what I'm thinking. He says, of course I do. I remember being you. I remember this conversation. Maybe it's better to say I remember an echo of this conversation. Either way, duck. That's a pretty cool scene right there. I never really liked it when they did the cape with the folds like that. But it's okay, but I never have like that. And there he comes, blam, 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 blam. And so they shut the door on him. And he says, brother, infiltrate computer systems, activate emergency doors. Complying. And so he closes the door on him, and it kind of keeps him out. And he says, they're talking more about the situation. He says, when I was Robin, I met myself. The circumstances were different, but the meeting happened. I was horrified. And so he basically found out that he was going to grow up to be this Batman, basically a killer. And now it's happening all over again. And he says, you can't really fight it. He says, I tried to and it didn't work. And then we get this cool storytelling here where they're talking about how all the other guys tried to be Batman after something happened to Batman. And so Dick tried to be Batman for a little while, and I guess he was pretty successful. I like that suit. And then he got a family and had kids and moved on. And I guess that's where the whole Batman Resistance happened. I'm not sure. But then we talk about the Red Hood. And the Red Hood actually had a tragic history because he ended up having a fight with like 100... I mean, this is such a movie right here. He ended up having his last battle with like 100 ninjas in the Himalaya mountains. And he says... He said, the search ended in the Himalayas with a story of 100 mystic assassins. He did better than you might expect, but not well enough. When I found him, he'd lost an eye and one of his legs, and worse than that, he'd lost his will to live. So very tragic for Jason. And he says, and while you search for Jason, Damian nearly burns the city to the ground. So there's the Batman 666 that we seen in the stories before. He says, what did you do to him? I did what I had to do, what I always do, Tim. I did what was necessary. And he looks at him and he says, you're a monster. He said, morality isn't black and white as you think. Think it is. You'll learn that sooner than you think. And so basically they're having an argument back and forth about morality and what he should have done and what he shouldn't have done. And then that gives Doomsday enough time to break in. And he says, we need to get him back to his cell. And he goes, shut up, I know that. And then he throws down these little gizmos here, and there's an explosion. And then there's Superman. And it's funny because Doomsday's like, Superman. So then he chases after the hologram. And he says, I didn't expect that. And he goes, that's because we're not the same person. And so then he chases Superman back into his cell. He goes back into his little cell. And he's very upset about that. He says, quick, take my hand. We have to get out of here. So he grabs his hand. And he says, fine, get me out of here. And they zap him back to, he has a thing on his wrist. It's kind of like a mother box, so he can go through time. And so there they are. They're back in future Tim's timeline. And he says, apologize to Connor. And he says, who's Connor? I don't know who he is. And he goes, access all the world knowledge networks. Give me everything you can about the current timeline. He said, so much is the same, but things have been changed, altered almost imperceptibly. And we get a shot here of a couple people, some things that might be fixing to happen. There's Batwoman. It says, what are you doing? What the heck are you talking about? That can't mean. And then he cuts Tim Drake's hand and it leaves a scar on him. He says, I have a scar. That means I can be free. Oh, thank God, I can be free. And he's actually crying. And he says, override, paralytic shock level 7, and zaps the past Tim Drake. He says, I'm sorry, Timothy, but somehow it's not set anymore. The future is mutable. I can free you from ever having to be me. Starting with the person responsible for setting my life into motion, the one responsible for the fall of the Batman. I need to kill Batwoman. Woo! And what you don't know is, the gun that he's using is actually the same gun that killed Bruce Wayne's parents. He just modified it for future use. He said he wanted it to be a symbol. So that's a cool little fact. It says, next, Bat Hunt. Oh, man. So he's going to be after Batwoman. Great story, great story. Now, here's the one problem I have with this comic. Watch this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Did you see that? Did you see how many advertisements that was? Holy crap. Half the book is an advertisement. You could have put like twice as much comic book in there. But anyway, that's the only gripe I got about it. Great storytelling, great art. Well, I say great art. It's decent. It's not really my favorite, but it's still pretty cool. I like the original colors that they did with the bat suit. Great storytelling, great action. Doomsday was in it, but I wasn't bored with him. But, you know, we probably need to leave Doomsday alone for a little while because, holy crap, you're overusing him. But anyway, pretty cool scenes. Check that big splash page out. But what did you guys think about the comic? Have you read it already? Have you forgot about it? Because you definitely don't need to, because with this kind of storytelling, you definitely need to check it out. It's one of those that, you know, is on the sidelines, you kind of forget about it, but it's telling a great story. And what about that cover? Heck yeah. But alright guys, tell me what you think. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button so you don't miss any of my videos. And tell me what else you want me to talk about. Alright guys, Underground Geek out.